All right. So we're back with some more reading. I'm just putting up my hair first so that it's out of the way. It's been so hot over here. Oh my gosh. 118 degrees. It's been quite ridiculous. It's impossible to go outside without frying like a freaking pancake. But anywho's, let's get into it. So this is going to be continuation of the book I've been reading. I'm not going to mention the name of the book because I think it's kind of fun to have that mystery. You know what I mean? Just a little mystery. Sometimes good to have. It's fun to keep guessing. So, all right. Let's jump right into the words of Klaus Schwab with the very first paragraph of the introduction to the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Schwab wrote, "Of the many diverse and fascinating challenges we face today, the most intense and important is how to understand and shape the new technology revolution, which entails nothing less than a transformation of humankind. We are at the beginning of a revolution that is fundamentally changing the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, what I consider to be the Fourth Industrial Revolution is unlike anything humankind has experienced before. Are you ready for an exciting journey, boys and girls?" One almost expects Schwab to tell us how to get in touch with our sixth chakra and access our inner child. However, beneath the breathless, flowery language, he makes it crystal clear that this is about the transformation of humanity. How does that strike you? Ready for the transformation? You probably didn't realize that was part of the deal. The thorn of totalitarianism is hidden among the rose-colored language of Schwab. Can you find the thorn? We are witnessing profound shifts across all industries, marked by the emergence of new business models, the disruption of incumbents, and the reshaping of production, consumption, transportation, and delivery systems. On the societal front, a paradigm shift is underway in how we work and communicate, as well as how we express, inform, and entertain ourselves. Equally, governments and institutions are being reshaped, as are systems of education, healthcare, and transportation, among many others. New ways of using technology to change behavior and our systems of production and consumption also offer the potential for supporting the regeneration and preservation of natural environments, rather than creating hidden costs in the forms of externalities. Let's count the number of subtle calls to increased control over your life contained in that single paragraph. We've got the profound shifts across all industries, which will lead to the disruption of incumbents and reshaping of production, consumption, transportation, and delivery systems. And let's not forget the blatant lies they tell, like leading you to believe they want incumbents to be disrupted. They're the incumbents. They're doing this so they don't get disrupted. They want a front row seat with their hand on the wheel as they reshape production, consumption, transportation, and delivery systems. Then Schwab moves to the societal front, where he breathlessly informs us that a paradigm shift is underway in how we work, communicate, as well as how we express, inform, and entertain ourselves. Again, let's note the subtle persuasion. It's already happening. He wants you to think, almost like the guy who pesters a woman for a dinner date. Then when she finally agrees, would you like to have sex before or after dinner? How much does Schwab and his gang intend to control? Just how you work, communicate, express, inform, and entertain yourself. The one frontier where you may still have some level of control is your thoughts. But they're probably just waiting for Elon Musk to perfect his Neuralink device, so they've got a straight shot into your brain. Next, he moves to the institutions. Equally, governments and institutions are being reshaped as are systems of education, healthcare, transportation, and among many others. Let's put that into plain person translator. And we conclude they just want to control the schools, the medical systems, your freedoms of movement, and you can't say that Schwab and his gang aren't ambitious. And what do Schwab and company actually want? Well, hopefully, they tell us new ways of using technology to change behavior. And our systems of production and consumption also offer the potential for supporting the regeneration and preservation of natural environments. They're the ones who want to use technology to reshape us, as well as control the means of production and consumption. In other words, you'll eat our plant-based burgers and lab-grown meat when we tell you to. They may sound like a minor point. This may sound like a minor point, but Schwab is a really bad writer. However, I think Schwab's writing and persuasion skills lie at the heart of this book. One can make the argument that all writing is about persuasion, but the quality of the writing is determined by the quality of the author's thinking. Brilliant writing is the result of a brilliant mind. The most engaging writing is generally the result of the author being willing to explore provocative ideas in a way the reader may not have considered before picking up the book. Schwab is a ham-handed persuader, always relying on the same three-pronged approach. First, use a lot of flowery, gee whiz, isn't progress amazing sections with some interesting facts of which the reader might not be aware. Second, introduce some threats such as instability of the system to make people uneasy. Third, let the reader know that Schwab and his Davos group have the answer, and this is generally known in persuasion as the problem-reaction-solution dynamic. Now, I will also point this out. So far reading this book, even though it's being said that talking about persuasion. Now, I'm not going to allow the writer of this book to become immune to that at all either. So if we're going to use the same perspective and viewpoint on that book, I would also look at towards this book as well. Because if you really think about it, if we're going to deep dive and we're going to call out all the hypocrisies, we must call out all the hypocrisies. So I'm not going to say that I do agree with some of the stuff that's being said in here. I do. Intuitively at a deep level, I see it, I feel it, I witness it. But this book as well can be critiqued in the same manner that it is critiquing on Schwab. So, in all fairness, right, we always have to take a step back, because if we don't want to put anybody on a pedestal, you need to do that, right? You need to know, okay, well, but yeah, this is telling me how to point that out and see manipulation, persuasion, but who's to say that this book isn't doing the same? So, I mean, yeah, sure, you can go into circles about that, but that's pretty much what life is. So nobody has the absolute answers. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you know or say you know. I really don't. I do give legitimacy to people who have well enough knowledge about things. I do respect them, yes, but I don't put anyone on a pedestal. I never will. And I think it's important that having an open mind and being able to see some things versus just stating this is how it is and that's how it is and this and that and that, without stating this is my perception. You know what I mean? You don't have to say that, of course, because it's not like we have to be coddled to be reminded. But me being more of an empathetic kind of individual, I always try my hardest to state that this is just my perception so that I'm not coming off as pompous. But let me just get back to this. So I just want to say that really quick, though. It said we don't think in facts. but in narratives. If we have a compelling narrative, we will subconsciously dismiss facts that don't fit the narrative and give greater weight to those that do fit the narrative. Schwab is very interested in giving you the narrative for his plan. The changes are so profound. From the perspective of human history, and this is going back to what Schwab said, there has never been a time of greater promise or potential peril. My concern, however, is that decision makers are too often caught in traditional linear and non-disruptive thinking, or too absorbed by immediate concerns to think strategically about the forces of disruption and innovation shaping our future. So, now going into analysis. Understanding the persuasion game is probably one of the most important things you will learn in this book. If somebody wants you to make big changes, they need to convince you that the problem is also very big. Schwab would have you believe that. The changes are so profound from the perspective of human history. There has never been a time of greater promise or peril. Would any reputable historian agree with that statement? How about World War II? The Cuban Missile Crisis, when the United States and the Soviet Union stood on the brink of nuclear war. The Black Death in Europe of the 14th century, which killed an estimated 75 or 200 million people. Schwab is clearly using exaggerated language, outright lies, to convince you to follow his suggestions. In real life, when somebody lies to you, you stop listening to them. However, we're going to go even deeper to reveal the extent of Schwab's deceptions and the true plans of his Davos group. After his clearly inflated claim about the promise and peril of our current time, Schwab moves to breaking down the defenses of those who might frustrate his plans when he writes, "My concern, however, is that decision makers are too often caught in traditional linear and non-disruptive thinking, or too absorbed by immediate concerns to think strategically about the forces of disruption and innovation." So let's translate Schwab's flowery language into its true meaning. Those currently in charge are too stupid to understand the brilliance of my plan, is basically what he's saying. Stand aside, peasants, and let me unleash my massive brain power to the world. Or on the world, more like. Insert manacle supervillain laugh. That was terrible. Honestly, is there any other way to understand the condensation or condescension, the condescension in Schwab's writing? Near the end of the introduction of the book, Schwab lays out his vision of how this transformation will take place. The fundamental and global nature of this revolution means it will affect and be influenced by all countries, economies, sectors, and people. I'm going to stop trying to talk like him. It is therefore critical that we invest attention and energy. Where did I lost my spot? Where we go? Okay. Attention and energy, the multi-stakeholder cooperation across academic, social, and political. That was a very bad decision. I just dimmed it entirely. These interactions and collaborations are needed to create positive, common, and hope-filled narratives, enabling individuals and groups from all parts of the world to participate in and benefit from the ongoing transformations. This is not a revolution that is starting at the grassroots among the proletariat. This is a revolution starting in the corporate suites among the bourgeoisie, where transnational business people get together at big meetings in places like Davos, Switzerland. Are we to believe this is genuinely being done in the name of the people? Because I'm pretty certain the average person has no idea what multi-stakeholder corporation means. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know much about, yeah, I have a lot to learn. And does the average person go to bed at night worrying about the need to create positive, common, and hope-filled narratives. This book will detail all parts of Schwab's strategy to use the Great Reset to achieve an unprecedented amount of control over your daily life. This genuinely is a war for the world. It is a war to control the future of human development and capture control of the human species. We all have a vital stake in the outcome. I freely confess that in this book, I use abundant satire and mockery. And yet that's not to imply that the plans of Schwab and the Davos Group are not dangerous. I absolutely believe they are planning an enormous assault on our freedoms, and we must figure out the best way to counter their designs. A power the elites have used for thousands of years is respect and reverence. In previous centuries, we were encouraged to believe our rulers were descendants of the gods, which is true, and some type of advanced human being. I use satire and mockery to demonstrate Schwab and his minions do not deserve your respect or defense or difference. Our enemies are human and possess no more strength or intelligence than you do. They currently possess many of the levers of power, whether in the media, government, or finance, but eventually they are accountable to the common people. You are the ones who will decide whether the future is one of freedom and prosperity or bondage and suffering. The power is in your hands. And that's all I'm going to read for today, and we will start chapter 2 next time.